Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studio inside Max 6 Workspace and the Conscious Capitalism Arizona headquarters in Tempe, Arizona, where we help build businesses and connect you with the right people. I'm Karen Nowicki. I'm very excited to introduce you today to our studio friends and guests. We have Nathan Knight, who's the co-owner and general manager for BAMBOX Produce. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
We are thrilled to tell your story today. And often I think all the time, we say to guests, hey, who do you want to bring that can kind of help shine the spotlight in your direction and tell a great story of either collaboration or getting an opportunity to use your products and services. And so Nathan and his team decided that the people who should come and share the spotlight today are two wonderful people. Angela Carter, who owns Nrysh, which is a yoga and health and wellness studio.
You got it.
And also, prior to that, for quite some time, you were also helping out as a farmer marketeer on behalf of BAMBOX Produce. Is that correct?
Yes, huge fan. Love spreading the word, sharing everything they have to offer.
Very good. So, and continue to do that, obviously, but just maybe in a less formal way.
You got it.
Very good. Well, welcome to the studio and welcome back, Kelly Lorenzen, CEO of KLM Consulting. Hello, my friend.
Hello, how are you?
I'm thrilled to have you today. You are a member. Also a member of BAMBOX Produce.
Yes, proud member.
Very good. So we are happy to have the three of you. So everybody, I'm sure, who's listening is like, okay, well, what is BAMBOX? So Nathan, if you can give us an introduction, we'll start there.
Absolutely. So BAMBOX Produce is your indoor urban local farm. And essentially what we aspire to be is everyone's personal farmer. We grow food sustainably in a hydroponic system here locally in Tempe. And our goal is to provide real, whole, organic food for the people of our generation without compromising future generations' ability to do the same thing.
How is that sustainable?
So by growing indoors hydroponically, one, we can save water. So we do about 98% less water than traditional agriculture. We save about 22 gallons per pound of produce that we grow. Currently, we produce about 120 to 150 pounds of produce a week. So if you do the math and take into account that we live in a desert, that water saving is a big factor for us.
Okay, so I have this little tiny hydroponic thing that my husband bought me at Christmas time from, I don't know, and I've got a few little herbs in there, and it is so, it just grows and grows and grows and grows.
Oh, yeah.
And so BAMBOX is indoors, and everything is grown hydroponically, if that's even a word.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And hydroponics it's similar to aquaponics where they use fish. Hydroponics is essentially taking out the soil that you would find in traditional agriculture and substituting a different medium. We use burlap, for example, but pretty much all of our plants grow without any soil. It's all water, lights, and the nutrients that provide them that healthy nutrition capability.
And how the heck did you get started with this? Like you just woke up one day? Yeah, you personally. How did this become a passion of yours?
Well, I've always wanted to. As a kid, I always used to get asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I always thought that was a silly question. I like to ask myself, who do I want to be when I grow up? And, who you are will determine what you can do. And I always wanted to build cities and communities. And the older I got, the more I realized sustainability was a very important aspect of that. So I started off doing sales. My original ambition was to get into biomedical, but I realized I wasn't happy. I was good at what I did. I was good at sales. I was good at marketing, but I felt like I was selling a commodity that people didn't necessarily need. And I was actually managing a sales team in Atlanta and Ohio when I had come back after the summer, and I got introduced to Chris Fox, and he's the original founder of what we now know as BAMBOX Produce. All my roommates were getting ready to go in and check out this hydroponic farm. And I thought to myself, I've never been to a hydroponic farm. So I threw on my best suit, went into the farm, which in retrospect, I should have just worn a shirt, and introduced to Chris, and we hit it off immediately. And, he brought me on originally just as an intern and to handle the social media and marketing. But after about 6 or 7 months, he asked if I could come on the management team. And then throughout the transition from Scottsdale to Tempe, he asked me if I wanted to come on as a partner.
Wow. Yeah. I can see just in a few minutes why he would make that decision. I love it. And you guys are in Tempe? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we're actually right off Prieston First Street, 2235 West First Street, right by Sky Harbor.
Your neighbors.
Yeah, we're down the street. I know I was worried about being late, but then I was like, I'm 5 minutes away.
I can do this, yeah. Okay, so, and can folks just come and drop in? Do they need an appointment if they're curious and they're not a member yet? How do they first initially get connected with you?
So we do offer farm tours throughout the week. usually either myself or another staff members on site from 8 to 2, Monday through Saturday. So they can absolutely come in, drop by. We do farm tours, like I said, pretty much every day. And that's a big aspect for what we do as well. Breaking down that barrier when it comes to people and their food. We want to show people, these are the people growing your food. This is how it's being grown. Come meet us.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Why I went the first time because my friend said on Instagram, we love social media, right? Excited to try my salad for the week or, with this microgreens. And I was like, excuse me, what did you just say? And it's in Tempe and, they're local and it's better than organic and all these things. And I was like, I have to go see this. So I took my son and we stopped by. He's like, do you want a tour? And my son's eyes got really big. And he's like, yes. So we got to go back and look at the whole thing. And just so cool to be able to see where they're growing your food that you're consuming is pretty amazing.
Right here, local. Now, you said better than organic. Was that your phrase?
That was their phrase.
Well, but I heard you say it. So can you expand on that a little for us?
Absolutely. So what we've come to realize is that organic is more so of a marketing term these days. A lot of businesses can receive a organic standard with 20% trace pesticides and herbicides still on their product. And that's been a big issue for us. Again, it comes back to that transparency aspect when it comes to your food. So we look at our produce as better than organic simply because by growing indoors, we don't have to use hydroponics, herbicides, pesticides, or any sort of GMOs. We can grow completely organic, whole food with just the plants, the water, and the natural nutrients found in healthy soil.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And how did you get introduced to BAMBOX, Angela? What was your first fall in love story?
Well, I actually was teaching yoga at the same studio as Chris, and he had brought a salad in for everybody to try. And I took his card and I started following these guys on Instagram, and Nate posted something about wanting volunteers. So I went in and did my tour and fell even more in love and became a member. And then I started working at the markets.
Oh, so at the farmers markets and just sharing and passing out produce and telling the story.
Sharing the passion, sharing everything that they have to offer, how good it is for you, how easy it is. It's put together. You can buy the box or the pre-made salad. Makes your life easy and healthy.
So when Nathan walked in today, Angela was already here and he had her delivery, which was really cool. She's like, oh my goodness, I was going to ask if I can swing by today and pick it up. And Nathan obviously hand delivered in addition to several salads pre-made for our staff. So I can't wait to tell people about it and share that. So you obviously, are you a nutritionist? Tell me a little bit about your business. You own a yoga studio, but you're also a health and wellness coach. Tell me about your background and really what that means in service to the clients that you serve.
So I call myself a health coach or a life coach, but holistic nutrition is where I like to go. We focus more on primary foods being your lifestyle, and we break that down into physical activity, career, relationships, and spirituality. And then secondary is your food, because if your food intake comes from what's going on in the rest of your life. And so that was how it originally started. And I've become much more into the meal planning and helping people put together what they eat and help them find their healthy path of real food. And BAMBOX has been a godsend for me because I don't like to make recipes for people. So I can give them BAMBOX as a suggestion and then help them just add to that.
I love that. So gosh, so many questions running through my mind. How long has BAMBOX been available for members?
So we've been selling memberships for a little over a year. Originally, we started out in Phoenix as a nonprofit, and we were providing job opportunities and housing for disabled veterans. That's still something we'd like to implement in the future, but in the meantime, we're getting memberships to kind of build up that, that public image and show people we're here, and then hopefully at some point we can start to implement that. But we actually moved from Phoenix to Scottsdale, which was our first actual retail location. And currently that's under construction. It's right on Scottsdale Road. We're building a sustainable hotel, and we're actually putting a small BAMBOX into the basement. And we're going to grow all the greens for the restaurant, repurpose all the gray water.
Oh,
I'm very excited.
And that's actually physically in Scottsdale, or it's in Tempe?
Oh, it's in Scottsdale.
It's Scottsdale.
Right off Scottsdale Road, between 3rd and 5th Street.
I'm imagining that the cities are excited about having you. Have you connected with the city of Tempe and or the city of Scottsdale, and they know what you're up to?
The city of Scottsdale, yes. That's more so along the lines of Chris and David. They kind of deal with that sort of thing. But we're hoping to do a similar outreach with Tempe as well. Hopefully get involved in the school systems and become a little bit more present and show people, hey, this is what we're doing. This is where we are.
Yeah. And members of Local First yet?
No.
We'll have to make an introduction for you. I can help you with the City of Tempe introduction and also Local First Arizona, which is all around keeping, money here locally in Arizona, which is obviously what the three of you are doing. Yeah.
Huge benefit. That would be a great benefit for them.
Yeah. So long-term wise, what are the plans for BAMBOX? Can you kind of, aside from this hotel with, the growing the food in the basement, how cool is that? What else do you kind of, as a team, envision?
Well, there's so much that could go into it. I mean, first and foremost for me, I'd like to franchise out and put a BAMBOX into every city, every state. Reason being is we create this interconnected web of local farms, and suddenly people don't have to rely on non-local, non-organic food sources. They start to get back a little bit of that food sovereignty, which is really big for us. But aside from building those small BAMBOX franchises throughout the country, implementing ourselves into hospitals and schools and other hotels and other businesses, showing people that, hey, you can do this in your backyard, you can do this in your basement, you can do this anywhere in the world and still grow this healthy organic produce efficiently without affecting the surrounding, ecosystem and without doing any more damage to the environment. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of long-term goals, I would say. For me personally, I'd like to take a BAMBOX to California next, but that's just because I'm from there, so I have a little bit of...
Where in California?
Fullerton, Orange County.
Sure.
I actually grew up in downtown LA and then moved to Fullerton when I got into high school, so I got a little bit of both sides of the world on that one.
Yeah, I'm Northern California, but that's a whole nother California. That's another whole segment. There's a big difference between Southern and Northern Cal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I love both places. So tell us a little bit about BAMBOX and your intention to help save the world. Like, a lot of people will say that, but I really hear you not only saying it, but seeing it and feeling it and believing it. Tell us a little bit more about how you see BAMBOX playing a role in that.
Well, I think it comes down to one passion. I mean, there's so many people nowadays with all the access that we have to information and education and knowledge. We know everything that's happening with or at least some of what's happening with our food and our resources. And we know some of the not necessarily good things that are going on in those industries. And a lot of it has to do with the infrastructure. So me being a millennial, I was always looking for a business or something I could kind of get my foot in the door that was actually going to make a change. And BAMBOX was one of the first businesses that I ever encountered that was a reality. This is something that can not only just provide food to people, but it can provide education as well. And that's a big thing for us, is educating people. At least if you're not buying produce from us, at least take a little bit from us and learn how to either grow your own food or be a little bit more discerning when you're going to the grocery store and purchasing, produce from there or whatever you may get at the grocery store. But when it comes to saving the world,
with a big smile, said with a big smile.
That really has to do with the people, I think, that we're gathering around us. Everyone that's been involved in the business, whether it's an intern or an employee or someone like Angela who's came and worked the farmers markets for us. Everyone is so passionate about it, and everyone has this internal instinct to want to do better and help other people. And I think that speaks a lot even when you look at our current interns and employees. Most of them are doing this as volunteer work, and they volunteer 3 to 5 days out of their week just to come in and help the business progress and proceed as planned. And that in of itself speaks volumes to me, because for someone to take time out of their day where they could, be out making money, doing this and doing that, and instead look at what's going to make me happy, what's going to make an impact on a global scale, I want to commit my time to that instead of just a paycheck. That is kind of what keeps me going.
And early on, you said that, when you were deciding what to do in your life, it was important for you to build community and build cities. I think you even said, I can totally see that this fits in with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
That sustainability and healthy living and education and giving people opportunity is all around building community, and in my mind equates to building cities. We've got to look out for each other.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Well, I was going to say, and food is kind of the big thing around that. I mean, think of it as the watering hole. Food is, dinner used to be a time where everyone would come together and relax and talk about what stressed them out for the day and kind of take their shoes off and, have that communal sense. And having food as a starting point in building those communities and building those cities, I think, is integral. You're suddenly creating a whole new infrastructure. You're not creating this community that's centered around profit and that's centered around getting the one up on your competition. Suddenly you're creating a community that's focused on how can we help each other? How can we come together? We're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to help each other out. So why not just pool our resources and make it happen.
I love that. So I know Kelly knows this. In the beginning of our show, I mentioned just kind of when I did the live read that we are sponsored by our location sponsors, Conscious Capitalism of Arizona. And it is an international movement. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you're speaking the language. It's really how do we succeed as capitalists? How do we make money by doing good in the world?
Right.
And one of our goals as an international organization, really a movement, is by 2040 to eradicate abject poverty. Like that's something I want to get on board with. I know that if I succeed and I help tell the great stories about business owners and do what we do here at Business Radio X, I can help other people achieve their dreams. And obviously you're speaking the same language, only I think even a more robust way by providing us healthy, sustainable food.
Well, there's no reason. There's people that are still going hungry. And with the amount of resources we have, that there's no reason that should still be an issue. And I think by, going back to BAMBOX, creating these urban farms, one, we're not limited by space. We can go up. So we can go 10 stories up and still supply a huge number of people. But two, we're creating it in a sense to where it's still affordable. And I think that's a key thing that people tend to miss when they first see the brand. They see BAMBOX Produce and they think, oh, this is a premier item. It's going to be expensive. I don't know if I can afford this. It's not. It's $5 a salad. We want to make it affordable and easy for you.
I was going to ask, and I'm blown away. Because oftentimes there's such a markup on things that are so good for us just because they know people will, some will pay for it, but then it also puts other people who truly need those nutrients out of the opportunity to have that food.
Right. And it's not even, we're not even saying, hey, you can only buy produce from us. Like I mentioned before, education. We've had members that have come and been a member with us for, 4 or 6 months. And then we get an email from them saying, hey, we're going to try experimenting with this at home. We're going to try and grow our own food in the backyard. We'll let you guys know how it goes, but we'll pause our membership for now. And I always look at that and I get a big smile on my face. I'm like, that's totally fine. You don't have to keep, purchasing produce from us. As long as we taught you how to do it on your own, it imparted some sort of knowledge or wisdom on how you can better self-sustain.
Love that.
Then that's a win for us. And providing that affordable food for people, this is micronutrition that we're talking about. These are micronutrients. It's what a human needs on a day-to-day basis to function at an optimal level. And with most of the foods that people are eating nowadays, that's not present. So we're not saying, eat our salad every single meal of the day, but you could even do something as getting a BAMBOX salad, and maybe you have to go to McDonald's because you're in a rush. Well, throw the BAMBOX on your McDonald's. At least you're getting a little bit of health out of it now.
Yep. I got this vision as you're talking about school. So I was an assistant principal for Kyrene for years and a third grade teacher. My kiddo still is in Kyrene. I got this vision of elementary level, middle school level, and high school level with their own urban garden that you've helped them create right there on the school property. Like, do you see that vision, or am I crazy?
We've actually just finished building our first hydroponic system at Chaparral High School.
Yeah.
So that is exciting. Big thing for us.
That's a big deal.
Oh, yeah. We've done 2 private clients as well, 2 of our members that actually have had systems built into their home. And that's actually one of the things on the website that you can do. It's called Homegrown BAMBOX.
Yeah.
And you can basically contract us to come out, build a hydroponic system for you, set it up, teach you how to run it, and then let you grow your own food.
Fascinating. So I have not only this little hydroponic thing in my kitchen, but I also am growing a garden in the backyard, and I'm actually doing pretty well. I've never had a green thumb before, but I send my 11-year-old out there almost every morning to go grab 3 little things of kale so that we can put them in our smoothie. And I mean, that's his big participation, but at least he knows this is going in it and it's from our garden. And, I can't, like what Kelly said, I can't wait to bring him by for a tour and just have him experience it, because we're both very busy parents, and my husband, I say, but you don't know. Mike is the chef in our home. He also is the one who does the cooking. And I'm grateful for that, because I don't enjoy grocery shopping and I don't enjoy cooking. But guess what that means then? I'm at his mercy to what he wants to prepare. I mean, he asks me and he involves me, but he also is a butter and heavy meat cook. And the more I'm learning about what I need veggies. I need a lot of them, and I need whole foods, and I need the raw foods and less the pastas and the breads, which is what I grew up on, and that's what he loves to cook. So this is a great conversation for me personally, because I'm realizing to step into that identity and to really be that fit and well person. And Angela's nodding her head yes, so I can't wait to hear what she has to say about this afterwards. But I have to see myself as that first, don't I, to be able to make that transition. So how great to have BAMBOX available for folks who are either busy or don't know how to prepare things, and that education piece. Is that part of what you loved when you first were introduced to them? And how do you talk about them now with your own clients?
Yeah, that was definitely one of the big things, is how many nutrients and how many different varieties you can get specifically from one BAMBOX salad, and then all the different ways that you can actually incorporate it into your food. And it's funny that you were talking about your husband, because mine is the same way. He does the cooking, but he's a meat, potatoes, butter, bring it on. And so I've been able to crowd it out, if you will, like give him more of the greens. He loves BAMBOX. He loves his greens. Now he eats tons of vegetables, but it was one of those things where you had to kind of introduce it slowly. Yep. And that's exactly what we talk about with the people that come to the farmer's market, and they're like, well, I don't eat salad. It's like, good, you can add it to your steak, put it on as a garnish, give them little things to start with.
Yeah. And is it all microgreens?
So right now we mainly do microgreens, shoots, and sprouts, but we also do like full-size lettuce, full-size basil. We actually have our first tomato plant going right now too. So we're planning on working through the dirty dozen, all the heavily modified vegetables and fruits that are kind of present, like strawberries, tomatoes, those sort of things. So we do plan to have about 20 different varieties of those fruiting and rooting crops in the future. Hopefully we can start adding some.
Fruiting and rooting crops. I love that. Yeah. Either of you can answer this, Angela or Nathan. When you were at the farmers markets or you're doing tours with folks, what is like some of the, you already mentioned like one, like, oh, I don't eat my vegetables kind of a thing. What do you hear from the naysayers or the people who are curious? And what is like maybe one of the number one question when they're kind of interested? Maybe it's about membership. I don't know. What do you find yourself saying over and over and over again about BAMBOX Produce?
Well, do you want me to take this one, Angela?
Go for it.
A big thing that I hear a lot, because I sometimes work the farmers market still too, especially for short staffed. I like to fill in anyways. It's fun. I'm hanging out for a few hours, handing out food. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But a big thing that people are concerned about is the fact that it's not in soil. It's not traditional agriculture. And the question of, well, how does the plants that you grow, how do they convey nutrients if it's not in soil? And that's one of the big issues with our current agriculture system, is that a lot of our soil has been overused and depleted of its nutrients. So plants can still grow in that soil. They still have what they need to grow, but they're lacking nutrients. So we actually use the raw organic nutrients that are found in healthy soil, and we put those directly into the water. So, people will say, well, you're not using soil. It's not natural. If anything, what we're doing is more natural. I mean, we don't have any real sunlight.
Because most of our soil has been depleted.
Right. And it's not to say that we're against traditional agriculture, but we see what we do as a viable mitigation strategy to at least get us going in the right direction. And by providing that nutrient-dense product and by growing indoors, we can ensure that the produce is as nutrient-dense as it needs to be. We have a lot more control over those internal variables that's not really possible when you're looking at a traditional farm, in the farmland.
What kind of potential do you think BAMBOX has then for the future of agricultural industry?
Well, I'm hoping that we get a letter to cease and desist from Monsanto or Bayer here pretty soon. I'm hoping that some of those big powerhouses start to come against us, and I think that's...
You hope for that?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, that means we're doing something right.
You're being an industry disruptor, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you just invited it in. You heard it here, folks. Wow, that's good. But that's how you know that you are doing good in the world, right? That people are challenging you.
Right. And I think being the first to kind of do something like this, we're one of the only profitable hydroponic urban farms in the country. And a lot of that has to do with regulations or people trying to match it to a large scale. Right off the bat, a lot of indoor farms will try and grow thousands of pounds of produce, and then suddenly they have to throw a bunch of it out. Well, that's why we do memberships. We grow to scale. We limit our waste as much as possible, but really put a BAMBOX in 3 or 4 cities, make it 5 stories high. Suddenly you're providing job opportunities for people. You're providing a sense of gratification. Like you mentioned, your son going out and harvesting and getting plants from your own garden, that was something I never grew up as a kid with. I grew up in a very urban area, and I was never around food. And even when we go out to schools and we, teach kids about what we do, I always ask them, where does you guys' food come from? And they always say the grocery store or the supermarket. And it's kind of funny and we have a laugh at it, but at the same time, it's also kind of sad because people don't know where their food is coming from. Most kids can't even name half of the fruits and vegetables that are very common to us. They're more so familiar with like a chicken nugget or a cheeseburger, but they can't name a tomato. And that's a big issue that I think we're addressing. And like I said, with that education aspect, that's a huge role I think that we're going to play in the future.
Kelly, I just remembered that you were our introduction to BAMBOX. We talked about that before we came on air. Was it Instagram or Facebook or something? And you had put it out there, and I had said, well, we need to get them on, right? Do we have you to thank for that?
I love bragging about any company that is doing something good or I align with in their values. And you hear everything that he's saying. I'm like, I have chills the whole time. I just love it.
It just rolls off his tongue. It's just, so authentic, right? I mean, that's what's so beautiful about who you are. And I know Chris, I'm sure, is very proud of having you become this co-owner now and the voice, at least one voice of the company, right? Because it's obviously it's who you are. Yeah. And so, yes, we have you to thank. I think that's how the story goes. Because I didn't even remember that because I reached out to Kelly the other day when I saw her guest form come in, and I'm like, Kelly, you're going to be on with us? Like, can you remind me what day? Because it says whatever day. And she's like, well, I'm actually coming on with BAMBOX. And I had forgotten that you are introduction.
I know. It was so cute because I put it on LinkedIn and Facebook. I was just bragging about, oh my gosh, this new company in Tempe, and they're local and they offer all these wonderful things. And I can't wait to, brag about them everywhere. And you said, bring them on Phoenix Business Radio X. So the next time I went in to pick up my order, I said, so I have this friend.
I'm glad.
Can you want to come, can I introduce you?
Yes.
And he's like, of course. Yes, please.
Well, you did great. And so let's speak to, because Angela said Instagram was your introduction to them as well, right?
It was, yes. I met Chris at the studio and he had a salad there, but Instagram is where I actually decided I was going to become a member and joined the farm team too.
Yeah.
And social media is an important I love social media. It's got its downfalls too, but thank goodness for it because that's where we get to tell our story. That's where we get to share, and introduce each other to great businesses doing amazing things. And this is a great testimony to that as well. And that was your role, you said, primarily when you first came on board BAMBOX.
Right.
Are you still managing some of that as well?
Pretty much, yeah. I tend to fill a lot of roles.
When it's a startup, I get that. Kelly and I had lunch not too long ago, and we were both speaking to that. It's really you kind of have to be one of many, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I would love to hear a little bit more about Nrysh. Tell us about the yoga studio and the clients that you serve. I know that you said life coach, wellness coach. Tell us a little bit more about yourself in that profession.
Well, it's the yoga studio just opened. So I've been teaching yoga for a while. And before, when I was doing the coaching, I did one-on-one yoga. And so studio is fairly new in the last 2 years to me, other than one-on-one. So studio opened March 11th. Woohoo!
Yay. Literally this March 11th.
This March 11th. We're brand new.
I'm so thrilled you're here.
Yes, thank you so much. Where's
the studio?
We are downtown, 4th and Fillmore, basically. It's right inside of Skyline Lofts. So it's an art gallery and yoga studio, and they change out the art.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
And are you a member of Local First yet?
No, I don't know what it is.
Connected. I know, right? Kelly and I are like, what? We got to change that. Okay, so good, because you're right there in their area, right? I can't remember the street that they're on, but you're so close. And you'll love Kimber, and you'll love Thomas and the gang over there. Okay, so it's a studio, and then you work with clients as well around this whole idea of healthy living and all these neat little compartments that come together for this whole well-being.
You got it. So it's the one-on-one coaching. We also do the wellness workshops, but the one-on-one coaching has really been the history of Nrysh. And with that, it's completely dependent upon the client. We really decide what it is that they need. And a lot of times, like I said, it's ended up being nutrition plans and meal plans. But sometimes it's really digging into their own, what's going on in their life. If they want to look back and see where some challenges were, and we dig into those, or if they want help with their business, we kind of put plans into place for just bettering themselves and overall lifestyle, making it sustainable. So it's something, it's not a quick fix. It's a plan and a path.
it's not a quick fix, and it's also not a cookie cutter thing for everybody, right? You've got some framework that you offer everybody, but then you really find out what they need and help them get there.
That's exactly, yeah.
That's huge. Not everybody's doing that. There's a lot of people out there saying, hey, I've got the fix for everything, and it's this program for, I don't know, $3,000 for 2 weeks. I'm like, really?
Yeah, definitely.
The one fix, the one thing for everybody, or the done for you, doesn't really cut it when it comes to wellness and nutrition. We got to clean up some decisions we've made about ourselves. Right. And then have to take consistent action. I'm saying this and convincing myself at the same time because
we all do.
Right. I have to. It's funny, as much as I am growing this garden and I want to step into wellness and being really responsible for my own health and well-being, I love fast food. I got to admit it. I'm still that kid who pacified either, an emotion or was busy and wanted that quick fix. And I'm learning, even at 54, I'm learning to, have the coffee without the sugar and the cream. And I'm learning to say no to the Big Mac and the French fries or less frequently. But do you find that that's something that you constantly work with people, even though they have the knowledge, and they say they want this? There's a disconnect between behavior and action. How do you work with folks?
Huge.
I mean, I know that could be a whole session itself.
Session. That's really what the coaching comes down to, is accountability and being there to hold them accountable. Especially the majority of the clients that have been consistently coming, they all know what to do. They just want an accountability coach. But I think the more that we're aware of it, the more we work together. I mean, all of us have our cravings, and it is about balance. You're not going to completely ever be perfect and let go of all that. So it's just about finding where that edge is, where the balance is. And
tell us how important or what about movement and yoga. I love yoga and I love stretching and getting back in my body. Again, I struggle with doing it on a regular basis. How long have you been doing yoga, and what is it that really you encourage people to keep coming back for more? What is it about yoga that really is so good for us?
I think honestly, it's the mindfulness piece. The movement is so important, but we forget about the mindfulness, just stepping back and taking time to be aware. Like, watch yourself, watch those thoughts come and go. Slow yourself down.
Yeah, very good. And Kelly, so again, we have you to thank for our introduction to Nathan and BAMBOX, that team. Tell us a little bit about you in your profession. I already know the answer to this, at least somewhat, but I sure would like our listeners to get to know you as a member of BAMBOX Produce, but also a human being. So who are you and your service that you offer?
Thank you. I own a consulting company. I've been an entrepreneur for 15, 20 years or so in different capacities. My new baby is a consulting company helping people with projects that stack up. All of my clients are entrepreneurs. So every entrepreneur wears a million hats and has projects that get stacked up on the back burner, and they're necessary to grow, but they just don't have time in the day-to-day. So I either just do consulting and have the accountability piece and, just have somebody be there, or I take a project off that back burner for them, take care of the project and then hand it back to them. Okay, that's finished. What's the next project? So that they can keep doing what they're doing best.
I love that you offer both helping do it, actually the tactile action of doing it, but you'll also help them as a project manager, if they were to do it themselves, help it, put some structure around it. So you help people and organizations and businesses do both, huh?
Right. Some of my clients just like the accountability piece. They just want to see, how do you grow your business? How, a lot of them came from corporate America. They don't know how to own their own business. They have a passion. They love what they're doing. They just don't have the knowledge or know-how. So I've literally helped people start their business and grow it, or they're just too busy and they're, 15 employees and they're running ragged and they lost their marketing person. Okay, let me take a piece of it for now until you find, and then I'll help you hire somebody, and then I'll train them and then let them, go. So it's really customized again to what they're needing. Some of my clients just need to know how to work the back end of their website. Some of my clients just need a LinkedIn profile, so I just take little tiny pieces or huge projects to help them so that they can keep going and doing what they love doing best, which is their business.
Kelly, we might have to work out a trade after this is over. I need some help with that.
It's so true. When we're in that startup mode, we are wearing so many hats, right? And all of us can attest to this because we're all, I think, all in it about at the same time, at least for this version of your business, Angela. And it's also the connector part. I know you're a huge connector, Kelly, right? Obviously.
It's my favorite thing to do.
And you also, and maybe I'm saying this wrong, but I think you have a knack for the PR piece too, don't you? I've seen you out in the community introducing people in front. We were at the Southwest Airlines, where were we? It was a women's.
Yes.
Who was that?
My mentor is the community affairs director for Southwest Airlines. And so her and I were talking one day and I said, I have this client. She wrote a book and she needs to, do a book launch party. And she's like, well, maybe I can help. And then anyways, we had 4 or 5 conversations. And at the end, we created this women's event at the Southwest Airlines
in an airplane hangar.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite events to put on. And then, so after that, she goes, I think I'm going to do this as an annual event. So the second year is the one that I think I saw you at.
Yeah, it was just recently.
But I'm always thinking, who can help each other? And I only refer and I only brag about people that I love, and I love their mission and their vision, and I can see that they're doing something good. So when people know that, so when they say, oh, okay, if Kelly's saying, you need to do this or you need to meet this person, like
I'll trust it.
Yeah, it needs to happen. So I love it. It's one of my favorite things. People like, you work the room so well. Can you just come with me to an event and talk to everybody? And
what's so great about this conversation about this women's event, until literally just now, I had no idea that you had helped co-create that event. And you did on behalf of the speaker. But here's what's great. You wouldn't have known that the speaker, that it was kind of created to help get her in front of new people, because all of the employees that were there were recognized within Southwest Airlines from each department. Like, it was so beautifully done. I didn't know that was your baby, or at least in part.
The first one we put on was my client. And then we were like, oh, how about this person also come? And then last event she's like, let me just duplicate what we created together. Okay. And I brought in the presenting speaker for that. Yeah,
so great. So, and we were talking about this in the kitchen before we came on air, that this is really around helping lift each other up, right? In all the businesses that we have, we want to make sure that we're educating, we're making those connections, and helping businesses and our bodies and beings be sustainable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can't do it alone. So why not partner with people, and have that connection to do it together?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's so hard for people nowadays too, because we're in this society that thrives off capitalism. And, growing up as a kid, I always heard that business was this just savage and ruthless place that was cutthroat and you needed to get the one up on your competition. But as I'm finding more and more, and the people I talk to, people like Kelly and people like Angela, that's not the case anymore. Everyone realizes that, profit is one thing, but creating something that is long lasting and creates a positive impact is infinitely more important. And I think that's what a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs are starting to realize. And the benefit of that is seeing another entrepreneur on the street or in the office or in a meeting and saying, hey, I do this, you do this, let's come together and do something even better.
Conscious capitalism is just that. Capitalism should not be a dirty word. There's so many opportunities for us, and it's proven year after year for hundreds of years that capitalism is the most prominent way to shift a culture, to help bring people out of poverty. Right? When we can teach people how to do things themselves, or something that they're already really good at, and help them build a business out of that so that they can sustain and thrive and grow, we're changing lives worldwide. Yeah.
It's my favorite thing to do.
It
is. It's so important to find people. People used to say in all my businesses, every business I've owned, oh, you must have a lot of competition. Oh, you have a lot of competition. And I've never felt like that, ever. Not in real estate, not in my retail business, not in this business. A lot of people do marketing. It's okay. I don't find competition, because you do pieces of it, right? And you want to help each other. So I don't feel like there's ever any competition if you're all trying to work together and do, provide this world with better opportunities for everybody.
Yeah. Nathan, what introductions can we help you with? The majority of our listeners are business owners. Obviously, it's Business Radio X. Yeah. And when you guys look at, who do we need to have in our corner? Who and what organizations and businesses does that look like?
Well, a good place to start is, so we offer delivery for our memberships. We actually will grow the food for them and then deliver it to the home. But as we get into the summer months and it starts to get a little bit hotter, that gets a little finicky. So we're actually trying to create a lot of pickup points throughout the valley with local businesses where essentially we'd go in, set up a fridge or a permanent kind of fridge space and have that as a pickup point for members. So we can have, 15 to 20 of those in the valley. Someone has to only go 5 minutes down the street, pick up their fresh produce and head on home. So that would definitely be a good place to start. We just started working with a few restaurants.
I was just going to ask, is that a restaurant? Is that, that's what that looks like? Probably a restaurant?
Probably a restaurant. A local grocer, even like yoga studios, modern yoga in North Scottsdale.
People who are in alignment with, obviously, your product and what you're doing. Okay.
Absolutely. Even apartment complexes. I would love to either work that in as an amenity for people in an apartment.
Brilliant.
Or, work it in just at their welcome center or their health and wellness center. Mm-hmm. So whether it's a gym, a yoga studio, a rock climbing gym, no matter what, I think we can implement ourselves into a lot of businesses and one, create this buzz around that business because who else is doing something like that? And two, provide that local nutrition for people.
And easy access, obviously.
Right. Absolutely. Besides that, we are still in the startup phase, so we are looking to raise a little bit of outside capital. We haven't accepted really any outside capital up to this point. It's all been organic growth, which has been awesome. And we're on an upward trend. So everything that we have planned still is likely going to happen. I'm of the belief that it will happen. And that's what I tell myself all the time. But we are looking to do some partnering with local entrepreneurs, local business owners that have worked in the food or the health and wellness field and potentially bring them on as partners. And we've been very picky with that. We've had people approach us in the past and, they want to throw X amount of dollars at it and do this and that, and it just doesn't match our ideals or what we want to do, so we've had to turn them down. So we're very picky on who we'd like to work with, but
open to it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Great.
They have the best customer service.
Well, clearly. I see that, right?
Which is funny
with Angela here, and you were a volunteer, right, Angela?
At first, I did a little of both.
Yeah. But
you get a little kickback.
The best. I don't ever do business with anybody who doesn't, do what they say they're going to do and keep up, right? But the customer service is just tip of the
iceberg lettuce.
Icing on the cake, right?
It's interesting for me to hear that too, because up to now it's basically been me and Chris doing the customer service.
Well, exactly, right.
And when she refers to it, she's referring to this team, so that's great.
Well, and that's always been my biggest stress factor going in and out is I get these emails coming in and these phone calls, and sometimes I feel like I miss a few and they slip through the cracks.
I'm familiar.
Yeah. So building up that customer service aspect has been a huge goal for mine over the past few weeks. Just providing something a little more consistent and easy to reach for people. So for you to say that means a lot.
Yeah, to have a member who's so close to it hasn't felt any growing pains in that transition with more people managing how they're interacting with the members. That's great. Yeah.
My favorite thing about it is that it doesn't have to be just a salad. Like they offer an actual produce box. So I get the box and all the microgreens and lettuce, and I create salads for me for the week and salads for my husband for the week. So I can have two completely different things, and have usually about 8 to 10 salads out of,
the size box that you got today?
Yeah.
I added, I add all my stuff, and my husband doesn't like to eat greens. So I have to add cranberries and a little of this. So it's sweet. But it's amazing what you can do with it. And I make avocado toast and I put the little microgreens on top. You can do so much with their stuff. And it's just then you're knowing then every day you're getting something that's really good for you in your diet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you don't like creating recipes for clients.
Yes, so
I
it
can
makes
help you
life
with that.
very easy. Are you a recipe girl?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yes, we'll connect.
And thank goodness again for social media, things like Instagram, where it's very visual, or Pinstagram. That's a new term.
thinking we need
Pinterest.
that.
We'll have to make a Pinstagram.
But Pinstagram, I think it is kind of that, isn't it? So that's great. Now, outside of Instagram, where else are you guys kind of, letting the world know that you're here?
So right now, are you speaking specifically with like internet presence?
Yeah. Speak to that first, and then whatever else you're doing.
Yeah, so we are doing a little bit on Instagram. That's our biggest social media platform. We have a Facebook profile. Really, what I've been trying to do over the past few weeks is kind of boost up our website presence. With the website, it has a tour through the farm. It has these little blog posts and recipes and all these different fun things that you can kind of check out with the business. But really, Instagram has been our biggest kind of savior. I think that's the biggest buying market that we have. We've looked at Twitter in the past, and it's a good area for promotion, but not so much if you're looking to offer someone a product. But being on Instagram, being on Facebook, and a little bit on LinkedIn has seemed to drive a lot of people to the business. And I think that visual aspect that you mentioned is just crucial. People can see exactly what's going on. They see the team members that are, farming their produce. They see what they could potentially do with the produce. So that's been a huge help for us. Other than that, mainly we're at the farmers markets. So we are at Old Town Farmers Markets, Uptown, Downtown Phoenix, and Gilbert currently. We also do the one on High Street. And actually this upcoming Thursday, we're going to be at Silverleaf up in North Scottsdale, doing a farmer's market for them as well. And
with the first few that you mentioned, you guys are there on a regular basis. We can count on seeing there every time?
Oh, yeah. That's currently those are pickup points for our members. So we have probably 40 to 50 members that come and pick up at the various markets. And we also sell the excess produce that we have there. So we're there every week.
And how does BAMBOX, hello, I'm making up my own words today, BAMBOX ensure fresh organic produce that lasts? Like what?
Well, what it comes down to is we're harvesting the produce on Thursday, and then we're getting it to people on Friday and Saturday. That's the biggest aspect when it comes to freshness. Even if you're going to Sprouts or Whole Foods and you're getting this organic produce, it's likely still traveled across state lines. On average, our produce travels around 1,500 miles before it reaches the store. And that's not even taking into account how long it's sitting in storage before it gets put onto the transport, before it gets sent to a distribution center, and then it's dropped off at the retail location.
And then sitting in my fridge in my fruit or vegetable bin in the fridge.
Right. And you got about 3 days.
Right. And then I'm worried when it's lasting longer than that. Right?
Yep.
And BAMBOX lasts a long time. I feel like a good 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it stays good for very long.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't had this long shelf life or this long delivery process before it landed in your kitchen.
Right.
Exactly.
And that in and out from refrigerated to non-refrigerated back to refrigerated has a lot to do with how quickly the produce will spoil as well. And we're harvesting it, putting it in a fridge, and then sending it right off to you. And there's a lot less hands touching it too. So we have a lot less, there's not as much chance for bacteria or things like E. coli to kind of damage or have a negative impact on the food that we're growing, because there's less hands handling it. There's just less chance for that to happen. We were actually growing romaine lettuce the entirety of the whole E. coli scare here in Arizona.
Me too, in my little garden. Yeah, how great though, because then you could offer that and you knew it wasn't tainted.
Right.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about microgreens? I'm familiar with them, right? And I know that they're important, but for our listeners, how does it differ from just this, and any one of you can chime in, but how is it different? What does it offer us versus, romaine lettuce or kale and the bigger veggies?
Well, microgreens are essentially any crop that's been harvested within 9 to 14 days of germinating. So we do broccoli sprouts, for example. We could let those go to full grown heads of broccoli, but we harvest it within this time frame to ensure nutrient density. So the biggest thing with microgreens is that they're more nutrient dense than their full grown counterparts. On average, they have about 4 to 40 times the amount of nutrition that would be found in their full grown counterparts. And a lot of that has to do with the time frame. Plants don't necessarily become more nutritious the larger that they get. They simply look more appealing to predators. They can't get up and walk down the street and plant themselves, so they need to look appealing so that a predator can eat them and then propagate them somewhere else. But by harvesting in the microgreen phase, we ensure that they're as nutrient dense as possible. They're expending nutrients when they grow larger. They're expending they're expending energy essentially and using that energy to grow larger. So when we harvest them in that small microgreen phase, they're just more nutritionally dense.
So what kinds of microgreens then? You mentioned broccoli. What else?
Well, we've gone through about 200 different varieties. And the cool thing about growing hydroponically is we can grow 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. So we're not limited to seasons, and we can essentially grow any crop ever.
I'm worried. I left this morning and with 98 degrees today, and I have no shade structure figured out because my garden is fairly new, and I've got fig trees and all sorts of things that I'm worried that very soon, if I don't have a plan for keeping them shaded, I'm going to lose everything. But that's not an issue, obviously, with what you guys are doing indoors hydroponically.
No, ma'am. And we do like broccoli, radish, arugula, cress, tot soy. We do a lot of greens that people may not be familiar with, but a lot of them are, cruciferous vegetables, greens that like Mizuna, for example, was actually I think the right word is, broccoli was the progeny of Mizuna.
Okay.
And a lot of the actual mustard greens that we see today now in the grocery stores actually came from Mizuna. So we actually got that crop, did some experimentation in the farm, and started to produce that crop. And about a handful of the Mizuna sprouts is equivalent to eating about 10 full heads of broccoli.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's a good thing for kids, too. I always had a problem eating veggies growing up. And suddenly you put it in this little bite-sized form, and it's fun to eat for kids. It's like finger food.
Especially because the flavor is so rich.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the big thing that I see with a lot of people is they don't like salad because it tastes like water and grass. But when you get actually fresh produce and nutrient-dense produce, suddenly there's flavor profile. Suddenly it has this... All of our greens have a little bit different taste, but when you're eating a salad, it's not like you're eating water. Mm-hmm. It's like you're eating something with actual flavor. And I think that's what a lot of people like about it, too.
And when you prepare food like Kelly and get creative, I love that.
And it lasts I can literally have 10 to 15 meals, of one box that cost me, is it $39? I mean, it's nothing.
You can't beat that.
You can't. For microgreens that you only have to eat this much to get this much nutrients is just amazing.
You know where it's coming from. You've seen it with your own eyes. You have the story. You know the history.
And to be able to show that to the kids too, that we tease that we drive by McDonald's and my kids are the only ones that go, ew, McDonald's,
I wish my kid was doing
because we've been teaching them that forever. And now that, we can go show them this BAMBOX and say, this is where the food is coming from. And here's, why we're doing it. It's pretty amazing.
Love it. Angela, back to you. Outside of your yoga studio in Phoenix, do you work with clients remotely as well, or is this really a kind of a come and see you and be held accountable in person type of deal?
It's more, now it's turned into more come and see me because I have a space.
Yeah.
We've only been here about a year and a half, so the majority of my clients were in San Diego.
Oh.
And then they've slowly kind of tapered off because everybody's, on their merry way. I will do remote, but I really like the connect because a lot of times we'll go do pantry overhauls or we'll go shopping or even the movement. A lot of the stuff we did in San Diego, we did coaching while we hiked, those kinds of things. So
yeah. And when you say we, is there more than just you?
No, not right now.
Yeah,
it's just me.
So it's you and
my mentor who I talk to.
Good, I love that. Well, I'm just getting a feel and picture. And I talk in we a lot because when I'm working with people, I'm fully invested.
Yes.
So I hear that as well. So who can we help you with as far as introductions go? Is it businesses in the area, maybe even apartment complexes? Who are you looking to connect with so more people know about this great spot that's just opened up? A month ago? Not even.
Yeah. I mean, anybody in the area, there's a ton of yoga studios. We do have parking. So anybody that's interested in movement, we have a lot of variety of classes, and anybody that wants to get together for coaching, I am offering free consultation. So I can get together with anybody and do a full hour, see if we're a fit, see if there's anything that can be helpful to them. So really, there's no limit to who I can connect with on that part.
So you mentioned yoga classes, pantry overhauls, the accountability, the coaching, this kind of matrix that you help people work with. Are there other classes that we hadn't thought to share on today's show that you want to speak to, or is that really it?
We are working towards once a month we will have a wellness workshop, and it'll just have variety of topics. So everything from what kind of cleaning products to use to we'll do a week of meal prep type of thing and set people up for success that way.
I bet you we can help you with some of those guest speakers too if you're looking to bring in people with Truce. Are you familiar with Truce? Truce
yes,
products?
I actually promote them in the studio. I use all their stuff.
I figured you would. So Truce is a manufacturer in our sister property up on Park Lane on University. So they're just up the street, and they are part of our Max 6 family.
Oh, that's
so that
wonderful.
would be a great introduction as well. So keep us in mind. Let us know how we can help you
perfect.
grow. So the location again, and where do we find you on the World Wide Web?
So we are located at 600 North 4th Street, and it's Unit 141. Our entrance is actually on Pierce Street, and we're inside Skyline Lofts building. And then the web is Nrysh, NRYSH.org. Instagram is Nrysh_wellness.
And spell Nrysh again for us.
NRYSH.
So excited to meet you. Thank you for taking time to come today and shine the spotlight in Nathan and BAMBOX Produce direction, but also be willing to let us learn a little bit about you as well.
Yes, it's been wonderful. Thank you all.
Yeah. Kelly, how about you? Who can we help with introductions, even though you are the connector? Who are you looking to help work with, and where do you like to provide your services for project management?
My favorite is the entrepreneurs who just don't have the time to give me those projects that they just don't have time for, but they really, really want to get them done. So those are my favorite.
And again, being able to connect and align with what their mission and purpose is and who they are in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah, very good. And you work with folks remotely as well as in person.
Both. Yeah.
And where do we find you? How can we learn more about your company?
KLM Consulting and Marketing.com or KLM Consulting AZ on Facebook. And
LinkedIn too.
And LinkedIn, of course, Kelly Lorenzen. If you Google Kelly Lorenzen, I'm sure I'll come up.
Yes, I'm sure you will too. Yes. Hey, and thank you for the introduction to obviously this wonderful crew. And you and Angela had not met until today.
I know.
So that's kind of fun.
And how cool is it that people want to be healthy? So now we have where they get their produce and somebody to do meal prep or a pantry overhaul, just so they know this is not, it's not impossible to eat healthy. It's really doable if you partner with the right people.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Wonderful. And you, sir, how do we find BAMBOX Produce, both the location, where are you out on the internet? And then volunteer-wise, are you still looking for volunteers?
Absolutely.
Okay,
we are still looking for volunteers.
Yeah.
So we're located off of Priest and 1st Street right by Sky Harbor in Tempe. So our address is 2235 West 1st Street, 85281. You can find us online at bamboxproduce.com. That's BAMBOX and then produce. A lot of people like to call us bamboo for some reason. But same on Instagram. It's just BAMBOX Produce, and Facebook as well. BAMBOX Produce.
And the tours. So if we're curious, we've listened and we're like Kelly and her son, like, we got to go do this. Do we make a reservation? Do we look online to say, hey, this is when the tours are? How does that all come together?
So email would be best if you shoot us an email and let us know that you're coming by. But honestly, we have staff on site almost every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 2. So feel free to drop on by. We accept walk-ins. We'll give you a tour whenever you come on in. So.
The word is spreading, so people are coming, huh? Yeah. I love hearing that. Yeah. Thank you again for sharing your time with us today and letting us tell your story. Just a fun conversation, and has me even more committed to my health and well-being. And I need to find out how to become a member. Although, I think I already know. I just need to get down there, and I want to bring Ivan because I know he'll be blown away. And we'll see if I can get Mike there too.
We'll look forward to having you.
Yeah, thank you. You've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio with Business Radio X, broadcasting live from within the Max 6 Conscious Capitalism Arizona studio. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean business. Until next time, I'm Karen Nowicki.